Prologue. Marcus. Age 7. I hate my birthdays. They always begin with the same bleak reminder that the one thing I want the most is the one thing I can't have. Maybe I should change the wish. Try to see if I can make a better one. One that doesn't revolve around wanting something I can never have. Too late now. Mom's slightly trembling fingers tighten around my clammy hand. Or maybe it's hers that's all sweaty. Her usually affectionate touch is jaded, smothered by the consequences of my stupid wish. I peek up at her, sinking my teeth into my lower lip. Mom is still in her pale pink nurse's uniform, her white sneakers smudged from the walk in the rain, and a worn leather bag slung over her shoulder. Her jet black hair is pulled into a ponytail, a few strands slipping loose around her face. I love Mom's face. It's round and welcoming, accented by huge dark eyes that I see myself in, and warm skin, kissed by the sun. She carries that faint trace of disinfectant, the scent I've loved for as long as I can remember because it means she's home. My classmates say the smell of the hospital stinks, but for me, it means Mom's hugs as soon as she walks in. Doesn't matter how worn out she is, Mom always smiles the widest when she sees me, falling to her knees to hug me and shower me with kisses. "How was your day?" I'll ask, because that's what she always asks me.
"Much better now."
She'll sigh in my hair, hugging me again. Mom works in the emergency room at the local hospital in our town, Stantonville, and because she works night shifts and overtime, she usually has panda eyes. Like now. Normally she leaves me with Mrs. Rodriguez next door, but yesterday, Mom asked Dad to spend time with me, because it was my stupid birthday wish. I waited by the window, peeking through the curtains all night long, holding the puck he gifted me last year. But I fell asleep, and Dad never came. This morning, Mom found me sleeping slumped on the windowsill, grabbed my hand, and drove us here, to Dad's mansion. I've never been here before. The house looks as big as Dad. Too big, like a castle, and just far away, though it's right in front of me. It rises from the ground like it swallowed the whole street, with so many floors stacked on top of each other and countless windows and doors. Even the garden is wider and neater than the park back home. It looks as magical as the gardens and fairy tale stories Mom loves reading to me. I wonder if there are roses I can get for Mom.
"The least you could have done is tell me you weren't coming, so I could have come up with alternate plans for Marcus."
Mom's voice is bitingly low, the tone she always uses when she's fighting with Dad.
"A child his age shouldn't be left alone."
"He's 8 and grown enough,"
Dad says, in that dismissive way of his, the sound cutting through the air, although his voice stays controlled.
7. Marcus is 7, Andrew.
7, 8? What's the difference? You're being dramatic.
I peek at Dad, not really daring to look at him fully. I don't think he likes it, or me, that much. Dad is tall and broad, so tall both Mom and I have to look up at him. We share the same cloud-colored eyes, except his are narrower, meaner, and barely shift. His light brown hair catches the light from the thin sunbeam leaking through the clouds, nearly turning blonde. He hardly smiles or hugs me like Mom. He just looks. Like now. His gaze strays toward me, and I stare down at my blue and white sneakers Mom got me for my birthday last year. Mom always tells me Dad is busy and doesn't have time and that I should understand, but I think he just doesn't like me.
"Dramatic?"
Mom's hand squeezes mine even tighter.
"I'm dramatic for asking you to be a decent human being and treat your child right?"
I give you money for whatever he needs, June. What else do you want from me?
Mom releases my hand, reaches into her bag and pulls out a few dollar bills, then throws them at his chest.
"Fuck your money. Your son needs his father, not money."
Well, that's all I have to offer him. I told you it would have been better to abort him. It's not my fault you chose to keep the kid.
Mom covers my ears with both her hands as if that will magically erase what I just heard. Then she forces a smile on her trembling lips as she removes them, probably figuring out I can still hear and see. Mom crouches down so that she's at my level and strokes my hair. That's the exact shade of hers, so black it's almost blue, away from my face. And she smiles.